Hi, I'm Jamie Drizin. I'm a gaited horse trainer in Tucson, Arizona, and this is for Gaited Canada magazine. Carla from British Columbia asked about her Peruvian Paso. Her horse works fine in a slow gait, but as soon as she starts to go a little bit faster to keep up with some of the other breeds that she rides with, the horse gets unsteady and tends to get pacey. So she wants to know what can she do to make her horse smooth out and stay in gait. Who I'm riding here is a horse named BF Don Brujo, Wizard in English, and he's a Peruvian Paso stallion who's been with us for the last month. This was a great opportunity to answer this question. We just happen to have a Peruvian here for training. Most likely what Carla's feeling is that as her horse starts to extend and become a little quicker in velocity, the horse probably gets a little bit stiffer and tends to fall onto the forehand, so he's probably laying on the bit, which is what's making that horse tight and making that horse pace. So the question is, how do you really loosen that horse up? Well, one of the best ways to make sure that that horse is staying on its hind end and driving from its hind end is going to be by teaching the horse collection. And that's what we're going to go over a little bit before. So let's explain collection. Collection can be described as slowing the front end and allowing the hind end to catch up. The hind end will come underneath itself, the back will round, the neck will elevate, and the pole will break. That's collection. The whole purpose of dressage is to gain collection, because in a collected state, that horse's hind end is moving underneath itself more towards its center line, where the horse can be more balanced and become stronger and work better. So that's what we want to do in our gaited breeds. And I really think in all of our gaited breeds, even walkers and foxtrotters that tend to fall on the forehand anyway. And especially in the Paso breeds, the Pasofino and the Peruvian Paso, we always want a nice amount of collection. Now, how am I going to get that? Well, normally I'd like to start that actually in hand from the ground, but I'm going to try and do it right here from the saddle. Now, this horse doesn't know too much of that, so this is going to be fairly new to him. And what I'm going to use for my collection is my seat. I'm going to squeeze here, pushing that hind end forward. Let me get out here and where we can ride a little bit, and I'll try and ride across the arena a little bit where we can hopefully see. So here, I'm going to start actually doing this in a circle. That's probably the easiest way to start your collection. I'm going to start in a small circle. And as I use that circle here, I'm going to press, in this case, my inside seat here, down and forward, and I can even use some of my thigh and a little bit of my calf if I need to. And what I'm going to try and do is push that inside, or his left hind, forward and across, because of course I'm working in a circle, so it's going to end up crossing. So I'll try and push it here over so that you can kind of see it, but also forward. Now you can see a collection if someone's riding on a fence line that's a nice straight fence. You can look at the head of the tail here and actually compare that to the rails of the fence and actually see that hind end drop down some. So I'll try it here, and maybe we can get a shot of that a little bit as he kind of lowers that hind end down and across. And that's where I'm going to start. The collection is going to give me better drive from the hind end. It's going to give me better balance from the horse in general. Okay? And of course I'm going to repeat the same thing because I want to be symmetrical on the other side and the other direction as well. And don't be surprised if your horse has a good side and a bad side. So I'll work here, I'll squeeze here, okay, you can see him react there. Now for those horses where this is new, this is very tiring. And a lot of times their musculature hasn't been built up enough to maintain that. So don't expect that the horse is going to hold this collected state all the time and all the way around. You're going to have to build it. It's like building a new set of muscles. And you don't want him to get too angry with all this squeezing as well. All right? So after you do this, give him a little bit of a break. Okay? So that he doesn't get irritated. And let him work a little bit. There you go. So as he starts to extend, it's very easy for him to lose that hind. So I need that collection to help him. Now it's also natural for the Peruvian to get a little pacey because they tend to want this kind of overstride. And actually what they call almost a broken pace seems to be what they like in the shows sometimes. It's supposed to be the smoothest of all the gaits. But we're going to keep this at just a regular old 4-beat gait here. There you got a little gallopy. Hey. There you go. Good boy. Get a little bit mad, this guy. So I'm going to let him extend out over on this side a little bit. Okay. See as he can go. Okay. Now when I feel that hind end starting to come loose, I'm going to start squeezing there with my butt a little bit and see if I can't bring that hind end down. That's nicer. Good boy. And of course, what I can also use this collection for is helping him learn to stop without really having to get in his mouth. So here, I'll stop him and I'll use my seat here. So I'm really using very little rein, okay? Because the idea here is that as he brings this hind end underneath him, it will make him step shorter. It'll force the hind end underneath. The same as if someone was running and I was behind you if you were running and I pushed your butt underneath you, your legs would come underneath you, you wouldn't be able to maintain a longer stride. Your strides would become shorter and shorter and shorter. Nice. So the collection will help in there. So that's the best way to start that, is going to be to try that on a circle. Now, you have to go at it slow. Horses like this, there's a stallion who hasn't been pushed. Now this horse, unfortunately, hasn't really been worked with in 3 or 4 years, I'm told now. And so he's not used to being pushed around very much and squeezed very much. So it's very easy for them to get a little bit attitude and get a little angry. He's a big boy. I don't really want him angry at me, but it can happen. It can happen. So go slow and make sure that you do an exercise, and make sure that you don't overdo that exercise, because maybe he can only take 5 minutes of that before you have to go and do something else. Treat him almost like it's a little kid who's a little bit spoiled, except that he weighs like 900 pounds. And you don't want a 900-pound kid angry at you. That just sounds like bad news. Okay. So here, I'll walk him along here. Okay. I'll use that seat a little bit here. You see me kind of get my hips down. Okay. And I'll start to have a little bit of a shorter stride here. Okay. It's all I wanted. I'm starting with the very, very basics of collection. But that will help keep that drive well. So that's kind of collection in a nutshell, and that's where to start in these kind of small circles. That's going to help keep that horse's hind end down on the ground so that you can move forward and stay in gait and not get pacey. Big thing is that you don't want him to be heavy in your hands here, because if I have that horse moving heavy in my hands, he's going to get tight and he's going to start to pace. Okay? And we definitely don't want that. Also, of course, building that collection is going to build much more meat on that hind end, which is something that we want. This horse doesn't have a lot of meat or bulk on his hind end. He was standing around for a long time, and so this is going to be using new muscles, and so you gotta think about that when you're working your horse. You got to think about the horse getting a little bit angry with you, and be a little careful about that, because you're forcing them to do something that they haven't necessarily done. Good boy. So here I'll go from a kind of a slow paso llano. See if I can't speed him up a little bit here. No, don't get gallopy on me. There you go. Now the other possibility is with Carla is that your horse is heavy in the bridle. I've just been assuming that he's not. And if he is, well, then you need to make that horse soft. That's easy enough. That's starting back in the beginning, even from the ground, with some pressure and a rope halter, making sure that horse can give easy, okay? And then graduating to your bosal or bit, whichever you'd like to use, making sure that horse is nice and soft, okay? So when you go to back, you can back light, okay? You always want your horse nice and light and easy, always, okay? Remember, these reins are secondary in telling your horse what to do. So this is the secondary communication that you're doing. This should be a syllable, as it were, but your body should be the main body of every word, okay? So if I want this horse to move this way, okay, then it's my leg here at his shoulder that should be telling him, okay, move that shoulder over, okay, or to side pass if I want, okay, it's my body. Right. I hope that answers your question. Feel free to email me at haciendadelsol@mac.com for any other questions you might have. This is Jamie Drizin for Gaited Canada Magazine. Thank you.